I appreciate you joining us this evening. We do have Ms. Doan available on the line with us, so we have all governing board members. We're going to start off with call the meeting to order at 7:32 and start the meeting with a moment of silence and pledge allegiance led by Ms. Pingarelli.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We are going to proceed with discussion 3.1, discussion and possible action on a governing board resolution or letter in support of educators. As always, I am an educator first, so let me just go ahead and share with you, take a moment how we got to today. At the last governing board meeting, there was a first and a second to add a future discussion item in consideration for a letter to present to the community and to come for a vote. At that point, we held an executive session on Saturday to discuss legal situations or inquiries that we had in regards to the resolution or letter. At that point, so that we were all compliant with open meeting law, we were asked to submit a version for review to our superintendent, which was then distributed to all governing board members, which also included a letter of resolution provided from our educators. All governing board members had an opportunity to review it. As a result, we understand the importance of this item and have chosen to move forward this evening for discussion and consideration for an action item. I want to first acknowledge all our administrators, support staff, and our teachers for coming here tonight to hearing what we have to discuss. So at this point, we have a variety of versions. I move that the Peoria Unified Governing Board approves final version 6-1 letter in support of the Peoria Unified Educators. It is the version where it has 4 paragraphs and it's signed by the governing board.
I will second that to start discussion.
So that we can proceed with discussion, we will start with public comment, followed by governing board discussion.
Mrs. Sayar-Martinez, which one are we talking about?
There's a stapled packet.
We have 2. So you referred to 6.1?
Yes, so it says April 17th on the second page, top left corner, 2018. Dear Peoria Unified School District colleagues and community, the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board recognizes. Okay, we'll start with public comment.
Is that this one?
The second one. So that's it. That one. They're 2 separate.
Gotcha.
So I recognize that they're not for public view just yet, but we will read it once the governing board has had an opportunity to share their input. And first public guest speaker, Melissa Grimscheid.
Good evening, President Sayar-Martinez, Mrs. Pallas-Thompson, members of the governing board. We thank you for taking your time out of your busy schedules to address this. I realize you were at a volunteer appreciation event, and we're very thankful that you came to be with us tonight. I think I can speak for everyone. We greatly appreciate this. In front of you is a letter. In the original letter, it had at the top 3 words, "We are Peoria." This logo really has a pretty lame backstory. I'm pretty sure I was sitting on my couch in my pajamas surfing Netflix and playing on my iPad and just kind of typed things out and popped it onto Facebook. But somehow it kind of became our group logo. It has a deeper symbolism to it. In our efforts to make education better for all our kids, there is no classified or certified. There are no northern schools or southern schools. We come to you not as members of an association, but as members of the Peoria family. In these efforts for our kids, we are unified. We are Peoria. With the letter in front of you, we are asking you to join us. We aren't asking you to stand outside of schools wearing red or holding a sign. You're welcome to. But we are asking you for your support. As the letter states, we will always do what is best for kids and our community, and we'd like you to be a part of that. I've asked a few of my friends here tonight to join us. We're asking you to acknowledge that progress is needed to better the educational landscape across our state and increase opportunities for kids. To be honest, a yes vote on this letter will boost morale across the district. Our jobs are not easy, but we love them. We accept those small tokens of appreciation when we get them, but this would be a very large token of appreciation. We need the members of our governing board, elected by our Peoria community, to stand with us. Please approve this letter tonight on behalf of our Peoria family. Thank you.
And I do not have any more green slips, so we'll proceed with discussion with the governing board. Ms. Connect.
Much of the sentiment in this letter is the same, but my preference was to be, before the motion was made, that we make as few changes as possible to the original letter that was presented to us. I respect that that was generated by teachers from 2 different associations and non-associated. I'm very proud and admire very much the unity that our teaching staff and our classified staff and our administrators have held together, because it's very easy to divide. And so it was my intention that we do as little change to this joint presented letter as possible. Certainly we did have it run by our attorney, and there were some very minor changes made, but I am concerned that the modifications in the letter that the motion was made to are significant, and I think maybe have some elements that are irrelevant to the requests for support that our teachers are asking for.
Ms. Stone, do you have any comments you would like to add? Okay, we'll proceed. We just want to make sure that she's able to join us.
Mrs. Stone?
Mr. Sandoval, we'll proceed.
So I apologize, but I see 2 in front of me that have April 17th, 2018, and begin with the same introduction. So I'm trying to delineate to which one that you actually. Okay. Thank you. So I'll start off by saying this. As your board members, as a publicly elected seat, one of the things that we committed to is to listen to our constituents, meaning all of our stakeholders, our teachers, staff, students, to understand, what your heartburn is, when the winds are, and to understand and how we can help you with regard to your positions here in PUSD. It is critical for me to make sure that we honor your opinion, that your voices are always heard and at the table. That said, we did go through a process, like Ms. Saya Martinez mentioned. We did have a document that was presented to us that, quite frankly, you as individuals worked very hard to author, as you continue to work very hard to ensure, that your voices are heard in a very respectful and professional way, and even in a way that that doesn't, impact, learning. It does not impact our students at all. You're in the front line, you, those in this room, and your colleagues across the district. It is you that a student sees bright and early in the morning. It is you that has, relationship with these students, a positive relationship, and the last person, that they may see that, in some instances, be that positive influence. There's a quote that reads, every, one of our students certainly are one carrying it all the way from being a success story. And I think each and every one of you are that individual. And that's what we signed up for, is to be your voice, to be that caring adult, and to make sure that your voices are heard. That said, my certain opinion was to make sure that we honored your voice, that we made sure that we stayed very close to the document that you presented to us. One that we reviewed, one that's used, certainly by other districts, that's been vetted, certainly by other authorities, attorneys, etc., including ours. And the edits to that document was very minimal. So, because I do respect your voice, because I certainly value your opinion and what you do every day to inspire our students, my certainly choice is to stay with a document that's close to what you presented to us, and doesn't have content, verbiage, that quite frankly, is doesn't seem to fit well within such a piece, if you will. So final words are this. The way I see this is you are asking us to do what we certainly voice every day, which is committing to your success, creating very inspiring, safe, and supportive work environments. We are committed to doing so. I'm certain of that, with our board. So with that said, my position here is to absolutely make sure that, we put something on paper. I think it certainly, just further, communicates the value that we place on each and every one of you. Again, I value your opinion. My certainly, response to this is really putting forth a document that, as closely as you possibly can mirrors what it is that was presented to us by your constituents, your counterparts, the Peoria Educators Association.
Ms. Pingrelli?
Oh, yes, thank you. I just wrote a few words out because I don't want to, I want to make sure I have all my ideas and convey everything and not miss anything. We are here today with a version that has had input by educators, governing board members, the board's attorney, and administration. Also this weekend, I worked on a version I felt comfortable with and incorporated some additional perspectives. I presented this to our interim superintendent to share with fellow board members, hoping to achieve a unanimous consent. I support all board members in their individual decisions. I support teachers, staff, students, parents, and all community members. I am comfortable with number 6, final version, number 1, the letter style. And I stand ready to vote on this version tonight.
Were we able to get Ms. Doan back on the line?
No, you can try one more time.
Okay.
Right now.
So I've had an opportunity to review and watch other governing board meetings. Deer Valley, our peer district, changed the version that you all provided, as well as Arizona Educators United. Mesa came out with a different version as well. So we do have an opportunity to make sure that we personalize what is the culture of Peoria. And it is important that we understand collectively we support you. And I know that you're probably wondering what's in the version that's up for debate, and I will take you paragraph by paragraph. So I want to first remind and acknowledge and echo the sentiment Mr. Sandoval stated, The unity that we've seen in the last month has been tremendous. As elected officials, we are obligated to serve all, and tonight we have an opportunity to lead collectively, meaning teachers cannot do it alone. And I am telling you to trust me when I say we have consensus from the community, and we need to take that voice as one Peoria Unified School District. It was a collaborative effort to compose a document that ensures the safety of our students, provides support to our educators, and preserve the integrity of our board and our district. So I will read you paragraph by paragraph. And at first glance, what is different is the whereas. The Peoria Unified is how you guys started each paragraph. That is one change. It reads, and I'll start with the first paragraph. Dear Peoria Unified School District colleagues and community, the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board recognizes that funding for our schools in Arizona has been substantially below levels that were in place in 2008, and that this underfunding has had adverse impacts on our teachers, staff, students, families, and neighborhood. While the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board has supported and worked diligently for solutions to fund and support teacher and staff pay raises, we believe Arizona lawmakers have not made sufficient funding available to fully support our schools since the wake of the 2008 recession. So when you compare that to what Mr. Sandoval and Ms. Connect are up for discussion, it's minor because of the whereas, and other districts have the resolution format. Next paragraph. The Peoria Unified School District Governing Board and district administration support our school employees as they engage in activities that, while not disrupting our schools or district families, make known their concerns for meaningful teacher, staff, professional pay raises, as well as increased education funding levels. We believe that our community, including parents, families, caregivers, business leaders, teachers, support professionals, school district administrators, neighbors, and friends will support our educators as they participate in legally permitted activities, advocating support of funding needed to educate our children and secure the future of our Arizona. Is there any discussion, board members, on that paragraph? Third paragraph. The Peoria Unified School District Governing Board and district administration supports our educators and stands ready to take steps necessary to improve salaries and working conditions for our school employees as new funds become available. Now here's where the conversation comes, what my colleagues are referencing. On Thursday, April 12, 2018, Governor Ducey suggested a pay raise for teachers for the 2018-2019 school year and promised a 20% increase by 2020, while maintaining a balanced state budget and not increasing taxes. Should the governor's proposal be approved or any other new funding becomes available, we will work with our budget team, as we always have, to consider compensation recommendations for all employee groups. Now recognize that the other resolutions that came forward in front of other boards were before Governor Ducey came out. So we are recognizing our governor's proposal, but we also stand in front of you that we stand behind you. And we need to keep moving forward to get a resolution for our educators. And that is why I personally supported that paragraph. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think for me, as we take a look at the last statement, as we always have, and to consider compensation, for me, we need to be certain. I think the word consider, could leave it open, for, possible, non-committal, thoughts. So, for me, as opposed to consider, I'd like to see language in there that really says, to make certain, that we ensure that, that our teachers and staff, are compensated in a way that they deserve.
Any additional comments?
Actually, Mrs. Cejar Martinez, I believe the governor made his suggestion, made his proposal before the meeting on Thursday night. So so it could have been in there had they wanted it in there. I just think it's irrelevant what the governor said or didn't say, because we don't know what will or will not happen with that. This is the entire point of this exercise is for the teachers and staff members of this district to get a statement from us, from the board and administration, that we support their efforts in getting more funding. Regardless of what the governor said or when, I don't believe that it's necessary. I think it's a distraction. I think it's irrelevant to us stating our position on our offering of support, of our statement of support. If the governor can pull it off, great. But it has nothing to do with whether or not we support our teachers and our employees. Nothing.
Yeah, thank you. Our board meeting began at 6 o'clock on Thursday. The announcement was, what, 3:30, 4:30 on Thursday. So, no, and on Friday the 13th, even the ASBA came out and at least acknowledged Governor Ducey attempting to put a proposal on the table.
So?
Connect.
I mean, really.
I recognize your disagreement, but remember, we have students watching behaviors when leadership disagrees.
It's a sincere question. And?
So is disrespectful.
What's the relevance?
Thank you. Mrs. Pingarelli, would you like to answer that? What's the relevance?
Right now, he is the governor of our state.
But he doesn't stand between us and our employees.
And I perceived it as he made an acknowledgement, and we are still coming out and saying we support that this is not. That's the way I perceive it, and he's still our governor and an elected official. It does not say we agree with him. It does not say we're settling. It's saying we're acknowledging.
So I think for me, if I may,
Mr. Sandoval.
President Saya, it's this. This position has never been about me. It is about every one of you out there. It is about the 4,000 plus associates that we have in PUSD. As we take a look once again at the purpose of this document, and I think the public speaker mentioned it, it is a document that is to really affirm what we say every day, which is that we wholeheartedly, without question, have an unwavering commitment to the success of each and every one of you. That said, I do not understand the relevance of the statement with regard to what is being asked of everybody in here.
Mrs. Sarah Martinez. Ms. Pingarelli, I meant no disrespect. I'm just sincerely trying to understand why it is that we can't just give our unconditional support for our teachers and stand with them in saying that regardless of how it happened, I'm also sincere in saying I hope that the governor can find ways to fund our schools, to fund our teachers, to fund our classified staff, to fund our capital expenses. We are in a hole that has been dug so deeply since 2008. All they're asking for us is to say, hey, during this difficult time, when our community and our district is, for a variety of different reasons, experiencing some instability, our staff members are looking to us and saying, can you offer us a firm voice? So I apologize for seeming glib, but I don't understand why that's being put in there.
I'm truly frustrated because it's our job to not only represent the teachers, but a collective voice. We represent the constituents. And Mr. Sandoval, when you say your actions are to represent the teachers, then I think about your past voting procedures and supporting liquidated damages. That is not supporting teachers. So it frustrates me.
Well,
So
I'm not-
if you want to talk about actions, actions speak louder than the words. And here's an opportunity where we can lead not only our teachers, but our community as one.
so thank you for bringing that up.
Can I-
Well, real quick, if I may. Liquidated damages, in my mind, should not be presented as a punitive tactic to keep teachers on staff. I've always stated that we need to hang our hats
Actually,
on the fact
Monica and
that-
David,
that-
I know, but
that we
this
value,
is
but
completely.
keep in mind that we did, and I did push for, and we were successful in reducing the dollar amount in those damages. But regardless, it is there for the protection of our students, not a punitive measure for our teachers and staff. It is about creating those very safe and supportive environments. But again, I think that comment is irrelevant with regard to this document here.
Hey, Ms. Martinez, can I just interrupt for a second?
Yes.
If we could do one of our goals tonight, and I know it's the goal of all, I believe all members of the board, is to see if there's a way that we can look at a resolution or a letter that the board can all agree is something that we're comfortable with. If we could take a breath for a minute and look at compare the two pieces as you were starting to read, and if you had gotten to the last paragraph, I think that's important to get to, and then go back and look at the document we had on Saturday and the document that you proposed right now, and do paragraph by paragraph comparison. I think most of this is the same, with the exception of the paragraph that you were referring to with respect to Governor Ducey. Is there a way that we can start by paragraphing and agreeing per paragraph that all 4 board members and 5, if we can get Mrs. Doan on the phone, say, and they all are very similar to what our teachers presented. There's, I think, one that was pulled out and one that our additions that our attorney put in place that were appropriate for us.
I
Does
agree.
that make any sense?
I agree, Mrs. Thompson. But let me ask this question another way. Who benefits from the sentences regarding the governor? Who benefits from that? Because the teachers didn't ask for it. So, and I thought the whole exercise was to support and benefit teachers and employees. So who benefits from the phrases about the governor?
It is to make sure that we have consensus amongst all board members so that we can go in to our community and our parents to say we support our teachers and what they do, despite what has been proposed at the state level.
Because it seems to me that it's just an injection of politics into something that is not meant to be political.
Can I recommend?
By all means.
Can I recommend at this moment, unless one of the board members wants to speak, that as we start, and I think it would be easier if we could, to start with the proclamations, because they do have the whereases and they're by paragraph. So if you would look at the two, let's look at the Saturday one for a minute if we could, okay? It says, whereas the Peoria Unified School District, number 11 Governing Board recognizes that the funding for schools in Arizona is $1 billion below 2008 levels, and whereas the Peoria Unified School District 11 Governing Board is witness to the consequences of the chronic underfunding and sees the negative impact to teachers, staff, students, families, our neighborhood, and our site. Neighborhoods, neighborhoods and our site. Those two whereases are the same whereas, if you will, of the first paragraph of the last draft. Those two are almost identical. I think the difference is, instead of saying that it's $1 billion below, we indicated it was substantially below. There was a recommendation of, do we really know exactly the amount? It could be billions, trillions, a couple billion, so substantial was a word change, but you could go either way. Those the two paragraphs on one and the one paragraph on the other are pretty identical whereases. Would we agree with that? Just for the sake of argument, as we kind of go through this format?
Yeah, I don't think anybody has an issue with that one.
Okay, good.
The issue's the third paragraph.
Let's go, well, let's go to the third, and I'm not going to, I'm doing the whereases still, so
And,
we're
and, and,
comfortable.
and I'll just say, I'm sorry for interrupting you, Ms. Thompson. I'm trying to be agreeable here. Like I said, I think the original, as presented to us, in the whereases, they don't bother me at all. I know Mrs. Sehar Martinez prefers a letter format. I can concede that that would be a fine format as well. And I respect what you're trying to do, go through point by point, and you're right. With very few exceptions, the sentiments are exactly the same. The issue is about whether or not we're going to include the governor, and I'm not going to vote to support the paragraph with
And I didn't realize my mic wasn't on. That was really dumb. Okay.
So now we're on the lawyer version, is that correct, number 2?
I'm sorry.
We're on lawyer version, number 2?
On lawyer version, on lawyer version was, and I was looking at the whereases for our lawyer version. If we're comfortable, the next one, the whereas had to do with supporting the working diligently. That was the same, pretty much. And to your point, I would move through them pretty quickly. We did pull out the whereas no one has worked harder nor waited longer for raises. That was a difference, okay? Because the possibility be that there are other people who also might have waited. That's an opinion piece, so that one I don't think was that necessary. Whereas on behalf of our students and families, it's time for us to express support. We have that type of thing in both of them. That's 5, and that's also 5 on the other one as I numbered. And again, I'm using the whereases because they're easier to paragraph out. Number 6, whereas we believe that our community, including parents, families, caregivers, same, almost identical paragraph there. To your point, Mrs. Connect, they're pretty close along the way. Number 7, so if we had stopped on number 7, we'd have pretty much the same here. Whereas the Peoria Unified School District and administration supports our educators ready to take steps necessary to improve salaries and working conditions as new funds become available. That's where it leads into the Governor Ducey piece, and that's where there's a conflict between the conversation. Let me jump down to the end, which is whereas we urge our Arizona State Legislature to continue to work urgently on behalf of the children and families in our state, so forth and so on. That's the same paragraph as the last one in the air. So we're dealing with those and you could turn it into any format you'd like. It's those 2 paragraphs that are the conversation that I believe people are looking for the terms of endearment. Is there some wordsmithing that can be done that we can get through so that we're able to come to a resolution?
The last paragraph is also the same.
Yeah, the last one is the same. So, and I'm just working on resolution land now. You can turn it in either format. That becomes the next dialogue. But for now, it's those 2 paragraphs there that are additional.
And Monica, Mrs. Sehar Martinez, you hadn't read the 4th paragraph. I don't know if you want to read.
The last one?
Yeah.
The last one states, we urge our Arizona State Legislature to continue to work urgently on behalf of the children and families in our state to make meaningful actions to develop a guaranteed plan to pay teachers and support staff competitive salaries. To this end, Peoria Unified School District will continue its stewardship of precious educational dollars, identifying administrative efficiencies, and to seek and retain the best teachers for our students. So the only 2 things is the format, the whereas, and the question about acknowledging the governor. And if we can resolve that, then we can move forward.
So, Mrs. Martinez, I move to strike in the 3rd paragraph. On Thursday, April 12th, 2018, Governor Ducey suggested a pay raise for teachers for the 2018-19 school year and promised a 20% increase by 2020 while maintaining a balanced state budget and not increasing taxes. Should the governor's proposal be approved or any other new funding becomes available, we will work with our budget team, as we always have, to consider compensation recommendations for all employee groups. I move to strike.
A second.
So we have a first motion first and second, Ms. Pingarelli and myself. So all in favor say aye.
No, first you have to vote on the amendment. First you vote on the amendment, and then if the amendment passes, then we move forward.
So on the strike. Any discussion on the amendment?
Well, for me, I don't see a problem. I'm not coming from your perspective. I had wanted to acknowledge the governor for what he's trying to do. And that's why it was put in there. And this was taken out of the governor's sheet that he put out that night. In that writing, it does say, should the governor's proposal be approved, we're not saying it's going to be, or any other new funding becomes available, we will work with our budget team, as we always have, to consider compensation recommendations for all employee groups. And there it was just putting in an acknowledgement of hope. I mean, I was trying to bring, the board is very unique, it's very diverse, and I was hoping to have everybody's voice, and so that we could all have a unanimous vote.
I'm hoping for the same thing. And I don't think that this if we take this verbiage out, that doesn't exclude us from acknowledging that we are glad that the governor is talking about this finally. I think everybody in this room is glad that the governor is taking notice of this incredible movement that is nothing like any of us has ever seen before. I think we're all very pleased that we're having discussions, that we're talking about making significant 20% raises in response to the requests and this movement. That is not just teachers, but it's community members, it's businesses, it's families. We can acknowledge that that is a good thing, and we can pray at night that we can find ways to fund it and make it come true. But it doesn't need to be in this document.
Talk about inclusive practices. And we received a document, and we all had an opportunity. If our names are going on it, this is a proclamation that we could share with everybody. And so by removing a statement of a contribution made by a governing board member who's willing to sign, I feel that you're removing that person's voice. I know firsthand, I spent 10 years almost in this district, and 7 out of those 10 years, I was in food stamps. I know. And I didn't leave the district because the liquidated damages would have killed my family. So it is personal. And when I feel that we have a document that's going to take somebody's voice away, I feel that you are taking, that you have done what you have done to me the years that I was as an educator. Take my voice away. If you're going to take a colleague of ours who we have a document that we're going to agree on.
What I've done to you?
As 12 years on this board, it was during the years of my service.
Mrs. Sayers-Martinez, can I invite the board to look at paragraph 8, if you would, of the board proclamation, the one that has Governor Ducey in it? Would it work if in that 8th paragraph, because we are referring at that one, and that's on both the one that our teachers prepared as well as this one, we say, whereas we urge our Arizona State Legislature to continue to work urgently on behalf of the children. We are calling out to the legislator, which is where Governor Ducey's bill currently is sitting, if I'm correct. So if it's said in there, whereas we urge our Arizona State Legislature to continue to work urgently on behalf of the families in our state to make meaningful actions, you can or cannot at that moment refer to something that suggests the current bill on the floor without mentioning a name in order to develop a guaranteed plan. That's one way to go. The other thought would be possibly to, if you don't put that in, make a decision that when the bill does go through, this board will write a letter to the governor for appreciation of doing it, or some representation as a possibility outside of the teacher's proclamation. Those were just two thoughts I had as I'm listening to you.
I am appreciation and acknowledgement different. I'm not saying I appreciate, I'm acknowledging, because if we had a chance to look at that bill, he's taking millions of dollars away from our disability children. So I'm not saying I appreciate his efforts, I'm only acknowledging.
Well, unfortunately, with a public document like this, individuals can make their own interpretations, and with his name being represented in here, I mean, it's acknowledging, and certainly, Ms. Pringarelli, you mentioned, I agree with you. There's no doubt we want to show our support for our teachers and staff, and Ms. Martinez, you mentioned our inclusivity. Certainly, that's huge for me, to make sure that everybody's voice is heard. And that's why, for me, I want to value and respect what was presented to us by our constituents, our stakeholders within this district, which did not include the discussion or content around acknowledging or recognizing the governor at all.
Nor did the input from our attorney.
Right.
So
we have an amendment on the table. We need to vote on the amendment first.
and we were having a discussion, I feel that it excludes one of our board members' voices, and I'm not comfortable excluding anybody's voice. So we'll go for a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Is Ms. Doan on the line? No.
We couldn't get her. She hung up. I'm sorry.
So motion fails. And so we have a motion to take the original draft. And Ms. Doan is not on the line as well. So all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nope.
Nay.
Motion fails. It's 2-2.
Mrs. Martinez? I move to approve the original document as presented to us by the teachers group with the slight modifications as offered by our attorney.
Second.
For conversation, she does amend the statement where none of the AUE are participating in the signature. So she did amend, it's not a contract.
Correct. It's not with, that was the other, right, the one that we got says acceptance of contract, but I believe that we were shown, so if let me amend my motion to be as presented with modifications from the attorney in the content, in the verbiage, and then the instead of acceptance of contract, I liked as it was changed on the way it's finished here in this proclamation here. Just resolved this day of.
You first
So
and second.
I amended my motion. Do we have a second on the amended motion?
Second.
And at this time, since we don't have 5 board members, I would like to motion to table this for further review, and we bring it to a vote on April 26th. Because if it goes for a 2-2, it will die. I motion to table. Second.
I believe you have a motion and a second. Are you able to table it at this point? And I would have to ask you as a clerk, am I able to table it, or do we have to vote on it? And then if it does come up as a tie, you can bring it back at the next meeting.
I will second to table it.
Mrs. Connect, is that correct or no?
I think you
No.
have to take the vote. You can table the item after.
Can you table the item after you put it out there? Okay, all right. Then so be it.
The motion is to take the amendment.
Take the original document as presented by the teacher group, to take the original document as presented by the teacher group with the slight modifications as presented by the attorney, and the ending to be resolved this day of with the names listed.
And then it was seconded by David, and then for
Right.
conversation, if it ends up being in a 3-2 vote, our superintendent does not sign it. So it's not a support from the district administration.
Mrs. Sejas Martinez, let me say this. Again, and I would have to say it, now, and then that would be correct. If this is to be something we're doing that has significance, we have to find a way, and tabling it might be the way to give it some time to be able to come back with a as close to this component where we have a resolution that is a 5-0 from this board resolution. You're a paragraph off right now. And so it seems to me we should be able to, if not right now, with emotions, we have things that are happening right now, as you know, with the legislature, with votes of our teachers, with a variety of things. It could be that a week makes sense if you cannot come to a vote where it is not just a simple majority. That's the pleasure of the board. But my high recommendation for now and the future is to have a vote where the board is supporting it across the board. That's ideal. So if we need to table it, fine, or if someone has a thought on how to get past it tonight, that's also fine.
And maybe we can come up with a way to acknowledge the proposal by the governor that is not in this document, a separate way.
Is there any other conversation on the second or on the motion? I don't know.
That would provide the voice that you're saying that someone doesn't have, but it will honor the integrity of the proposal that we were given by our teachers and employees.
Right.
Choose wisely, choose wisely. I always tell my kids, choose wisely.
Well, by tabling also, we would hopefully have a full board of 5 when we came back.
So the motion reads to vote on the first one?
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone in the room that knows better than me? Because I could be wrong, but I think there's a motion and a second, we vote on it. And if you table it, that's a second, that's a different thing.
Okay, the motion reads to take the proposal with the amendments excluding the signatures from the AUE and
With
the We Are Peoria. That's been removed.
No,
On the version from the lawyer, it has been.
but the verbiage is essentially the same.
Correct.
Okay.
But it's not the original it's not the proposal. We're removing We Are Peoria.
Correct.
I'm going to let you do that. Excuse me, I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Zeri because she seems to have the policy in her head of what we were doing.
Good evening, President Sejas Martinez, members of the board. I believe since you do have a motion and a second, you need to vote. You cannot then table it. I believe a dissenting member of the vote would have to be one of the ones to bring it forward again in the future. That's how you would do that to comply with open meeting law.
Thank you. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Say nay. Abstain, I abstain. The motion fails 2-1-1.
No, the motion passed, 2-1-1.
just to move forward, as stated, the proposal will go out, and the signatures will be David and Kathy. Is that correct?
It's the pleasure of the board if that's how you decide to sign it now. Yes. Yes.
Or is it everybody since it passed?
Everybody.
Yeah, me too.
Because from my understanding,
But
it had to be
the-
unanimous for everybody to stand.
Mrs. Sayas-Martinez, it's unanimous, it's, the proclamation went through. The determination of whether or not you want to sign that proclamation will be up to you.
Got it. All right, motion passes as received from the lawyers, the version, and I will read it again for everybody. With the removal of "We Are Peoria." Get it out. Oh, so many copies. Whereas the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board recognizes that the funding for schools in Arizona is $1 billion below 2008 levels, and whereas the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board is witness to the consequences of this chronic underfunding and sees the negative impact to teachers, staff, students, families, our community, and our state, and whereas the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board has supported and worked for solutions to fund teacher and support professional pay raises and other educational needs, only to see the legislator fail to stop enacting tax cuts that run counter to our efforts. And whereas no one has worked harder nor waited longer for raises and restoring the money for resources for their classroom and schools, nor sacrificed more than our teachers and support professionals. And whereas on behalf of our students and families, it is time for us to express support to our school employees as they engage in activities that, while not disturbing our students, make known their demands concerning necessary funding for meaningful teacher and support professional pay raises and increased in education funding. Whereas we believe our community, including parents, families, caregivers, business leaders, teachers, support professionals, families, school district administrators, neighbors, and friends will support our educators as they participate in legally permitted activities in support of funding needed to educate our children and secure the future of Arizona. Be it resolved that the Peoria Unified School District Governing Board supports educators and stands ready to take necessary steps to improve salaries and working conditions for our school employees. The Peoria Unified School District Governing Board urges the state legislature to work urgently on behalf of the children and families in our state to take swift and meaningful action to develop a viable plan to pay teachers and support professionals the competitive professional salaries they deserve. Version will come out and all have the opportunity to sign.
Correct.
Going forward, do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Second.
Motion, first and second, meeting adjourned.
Are here, let's wait, and because their names are all on them.
They would normally pass it down right now.
That's fine, except, first of all, there was a spelling error.
Okay.
Of S.
Okay.
Do it with everything? Oh, thank you, good. Okay. Give them a little here's what we have here. Families are neighbor boys. There should be an S there. John can do that. And then